This is, as usual, about how to live. And in this video, I want to talk about having a good reference. If we have a good reference, we can relate to that. I use the word triangulating, just like knowing where you are and where you want to go. And you have few places to triangulate so that you can maneuver, like in the map. Or similarly, well, this could be climbing up the mountain or trail, hiking or sailing. You need to have a gyroscope and know where you are. Maybe stars are the reference. So in living life, one of the idea, I think this is Warren Buffett mentioned, is that it's important to have a good mentor. And his words are something like, if you are doing something, you think about that person that you had such admiration, so that you don't want to violate the trust that person may have on you. I think that's profound. I can think of few people, maybe more than few, that I can relate to, I think about, because of the physical encounter or through the books or anything like that. It reminds me, when I am to make a decision, what would that person do in this instance? So it's a simple idea. Maybe we don't think much about it, but if you envision that you have a bad references, and that attracts you to use as a reference, and I often use the case of when you are born under a certain star with the negative background of the parents being into some criminal issues, are very, very upset or emotionally unstable. And if you are with them for a long time, it's going to affect you. And when you face certain issue, all of a sudden you think about is what the person may do. So it's kind of like an imprint into your system that the reference that you may have is influencing you. And it happened so much early in your days, you may not realize it. It's because it's part of your system. So when we talk about wisdom, compassion, awakening, and the growth of individuals, it's really important to know, what kind of background we have. There's a Briggs and what's the name of the person? The psychological trait personality test, Briggs and Meyer. I am an INFP. So there's a characterization of your personal profile. There are 16 of them. I look at it and see if that's me and how I may relate to. I think Jung says don't trust that too much, because it makes sense not to trust, because if it has such a negative weight on you because of that trait, you won't have the aspiration to go through it to make the best. Even if the influence you may have had is so deep, if it's important, you may make it happen. So that's about the references, mentor, and how we make judgment in a simple way to describe. Now, I want to touch on the animals, how they make a decision. If you throw a ball to a dog figure out that's something interesting to play with, so he run and grab it. When he run, he see the ball flying or bouncing, and he can expect what it may land on, so where to grab the ball. So that skill that they have is the same as having a reference and make a right judgment. And grab the ball in this case and come back and have more ball that they can go catch it and run. And I laugh at it. But it's a sad story because the same thing happens in our psyche, that we have a bad habit, and it's like the dog and ball situation. You keep doing the same bad habit over and over and over because that's the only game you have in your mind. That's what you do. So, number one, dogs, animals, and us have something common in terms of relating to references. And I'd say this is in our image memory. In the dog's case, there's an image of the ball flying, and that instance, they don't have the brain like we do, but they can expect what can happen, right? So, as I said, the humans do the same without us knowing it. It's so natural to do that. But if that gives you an impact that you always hit your head on the wall when you have a problem, and you never stop hitting the wall with your head, that's a sad story. Whether we realize it or not, I think we do that. When you overcome that bad habit, you get relief. And that's when that happens. When you are the tennis player, like a Djokovic, I've noticed what he does. I posted some video on how he trained, not just physically, but mind, the habitual pattern. As much as he may choose what to eat, that's a good reference for the protein, the energy level, all the other stuff. So use the brain, but also to go over the bad habit to produce a better habit. He does a repetition. That's what I keep talking about. The repetition is mother of success, or the skill. And you have to have a good reference to emulate, so that you can do it. And you have to have a good spirit, interest, discipline, all of that. So, living life, spiritual or not, I think it's human nature that we want to grow, learn, and not make mistakes, and have fun in the process, and enjoy it. So what do we do? Like I mentioned earlier, good reference, good mentor. And his expression is that when he is to do something, he think about that person. If he was here, what would he do? Or if that person is watching me doing this, what he may say. It's not something like a slave mentality, but just as a reference, popping up as an image. We often use the logic and justify. And I talked about the logic and the memory in our brain with words to play with the logic, but there's also the image memory. And the image memory is like the case of dog and ball, much, much quicker and get the point. So if you have more of that and train yourself, then your intuitive sense would prevail before your logic, previously developed habit, may take over. More you do that, more you learn the skill, more you grow, and you may have fun. Because seeing yourself growing, seeing ourselves growing, is fun, liberating. So let's just touch on the case of God as a reference. God, in my term, is the law of nature, or in Shin Buddhism they talk about Amida Buddha. So what it does, or the God does, or the law of nature do, is ultimate power, absolute. The human may go beyond the laws of nature, trying to, but it's like a fighting against the absolute process. I wouldn't do that, but the human ego may challenge that. They may try to connect something to your brain, and it may have a good intention, and it may succeed, but ultimately that's still following the law of nature, but kind of bypassing, and the technology has helped us to live better. So it's okay. But pragmatically speaking, especially given the situation we have, instead of hitting the wall with the head, nothing you can do. I talked about samadhi. Let go. No mind, no self. What it does mean is to connect to your heart, which we may not realize because we are so confined here, but that's part of the problem, going beyond the confinement of the mind. I talked about the bird and the cage. The cage has an opening. That is the miracle power of nature that brought us onto this earth and for us to live, not because of the brain, but because of the way whole structure and the process, eating, breathing, circulating blood, dealing with the injury, happens naturally. So in terms of overcoming the habit, the negative habit, we can access that. And again, we may help ourselves by having reference. So reference in this case is beyond the mind, and that makes it unreal for some people. But knowing that we came from that unreal mystery of us on this earth, we may connect to that. In samadhi, when the mind is empty, no self, and you cannot do anything, but there's a power inside that is making us to live, that causes us to find the solution, the wisdom, compassion, all of that. Dogs don't have that because they don't need to go through the brain as much. But we need to learn how to use the brain, not to be used by the brain and the habit that was developed. So suggestion is find the samadhi as a process to get to the core of who we are, miraculous power that brought us on earth. And by opening up that channel, listening to the heart, maybe we need to have an image. In this case, the mentor is not the human being, maybe a god, a law of nature, or Amida Buddha. And you let go and let that unknown power of producing a miracle take place. But if you look for it with your mind, and that's what you do, you're violating because again you're using your brain and the mind. So that's why no mind, no self, meaning not your to do, but let the law of nature, Amida Buddha, the God, take care of you. Because they are the one who brought us on this earth. But it's unreal in our mind. So mind has to go. Can you do that? All the people who may have accomplished a lot seem to have an edge to connect to the unknown power. In my view, there may be a certain luck that happened in their DNA or whatever, but there's also this 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. Your dedicated effort to go beyond your normal range of activity or talent because of the vision, possibility, willingness, determination, and then face the wall, and all of a sudden it's happening. So if you see those who has mastered those skills, whether it's tennis player or investment or anything, they do it. They play violin, they do the painting, do the surfing, investment, and be a happy person, to live with a smile. There's a connection to the source of who we are. We all have that, because that brought us on this earth. So use that, let it take over us in a way, so that our ego is gone and the natural power can prevail. That's awakening beyond our constrained mind. If you have the image reference, we may have whoever has gone through that path, and if you're resonating to their view, lifestyle, what they have done, that may inspire us. So let's stop and let the mind be free to come up with that possibility. So you have your own reference, maybe multiple reference, that may come and help us, you to be the master of your own destiny. Have a good day and have a good reference. Thank you.